Hello again, and welcome back. We're doing another episode of Russell's book reviews tonight. But before we get started, let me get this in focus here. Let's see how we're doing. Okay, I think we got it. There we go. www.fantasticdreamsbooks.com. You would make check or money orders out to Russell Andresen /author, P.O. Box 73650, Noonan, Georgia 30271. On that website, you will be able to pick up copies, personalized and autographed, of the nonfiction tell-all memoir, A Crude World, which is setting social media ablaze right now, at least in some circles, due to the subject matter and the fact that the members of the New York Mercantile Exchange don't want you reading this book. You'll have to buy a copy if you want to know exactly why they are so afraid of it. Then there is my latest dark comedy called The Queen and I, about a disgraced Broadway playwright and the ghost of a 1920s drag queen who wants to help him reclaim his fame. And then we harken back to 2010, to the book that started it all, my incredibly irreverent and politically incorrect book, Are You Kosher? Memoirs of a Jewish Vampire. This one, I even seriously wonder sometimes about myself when I read the pages of this book. But anyway, we're going to move on. In my last blog post, and I believe also in my last review, I mentioned that I am taking it upon myself to also take on the topic of online bullying. Not so much because I feel as if I've been bullied. I have been harassed and my family has been attacked, but I myself was a bully growing up, and I now, at my age of 41, I can only imagine what it must be like for children nowadays. And it's not as simple as just scrolling past the comment or blocking that person. It can get very personal and very real, and usually the people doing it are cowards who hide from behind the safety of their own laptop. Well, as you can see my face. I am not hiding. I have given basically all the information other than my address about where you could find me if you wanted to find me. But I have decided to support the PACER Center, PACER's National Bullying Prevention Center, NBPC. You can find them at pacer.org. And I truly believe that this is a site that is worth your attention if you feel that you want to donate anything to them. I think that that's a great idea. I myself have made a modest donation. I am an indie author after all, and I am trying to make my way in this world, so the money's not exactly pouring in yet, but we all do what we have to. You know, you got to give a little to get a little, but eventually it'll come back. But that's not why we do it. We do it because we care. Now, for tonight's book review. This one, I'm going back a ways, but this is what it doesn't get any better than this for me, because this is where it all started. I believe it was 1991 when I was introduced to this author and this book, and I actually read it by accident. I was not the intended reader. My younger brother was. My employer at the time had lent him a copy of it. And I went on a trip with my parents and my baby brother. And I figured it was a long car drive, so why not bring a book along? That book was The Sword of Shannara by Terry Brooks. Those of you familiar with fantasy know the name Terry Brooks. In 1977, he redefined the genre of the fantasy novel with this book. It immediately went to the New York Times bestseller list, and it stayed there for weeks and weeks and weeks. What's cool about this copy, and I'm going to show you, is that as you can see, we'll see if we can get it in there. It was signed by the man himself. I cherish this. This one you really got to look. But as you can see, it's a first edition, 1977. And what makes it even cooler, and when I showed this to Mr. Brooks, and by the way, I've had the pleasure of meeting Terry Brooks on several occasions, and he has autographed a great number of my books and has given me some great advice on writing. It has the original picture in the middle by the brothers Hildebrandt. This is the only book that they did for him. None of the other Terry Brooks books were ever done by the brothers Hildebrandt. He told me, he said they were so good he couldn't afford them after that. Anyway, to the review. For those of you who have not read it, I am not giving away all of it. I'm not going to pull what I did with Ghost Set of Watchmen, but with Ghost Set of Watchmen, it was necessary that I went on a little bit of a tirade. The Sword of Shannara is everything that you look for in a fantasy novel. It has an unassuming hero facing unexpected and unwanted odds, unlikeliness of success, a mysterious figure who offers his assistance, and a band of soon-to-be brothers put together to fight a battle that they just feel it's either win or die. It's just that simple. Young Shay Omsford is presented one dark night with the Elfstones of Shannara by the druid Alanon, who comes across his brother Flick on the way home. It is soon after that that Shay is told that he needs to get out of his home as quickly as possible and head towards Coalhaven, which is where the dwarves live. But on their way, they decided they were going to stop and visit with a friend in the city of Ley or Leah. I'm not really quite sure how to pronounce it. I never asked Mr. Brooks how he pronounces the names. But I'm going chapter by chapter, and I could wind up being here forever with it. You soon have the return of the horrible warlock lord who was once a brother of the druids who turned evil, and centuries before had been destroyed, or so they thought, by the original king of Shannara, Jarly Shannara, but he did not properly use the sword. So now the warlock lord has returned, and it is up to Shay, who has elven blood in him, but very faint, and through marriage. But because he is he is the only descendant of the Shannara line, he is the one charged with finding the sword and confronting the warlock lord and using the sword against him. The book has got heart, it's got passion, it's got battle, it's got magic. It has an original story, which is really hard to come by these days in fantasy, because let's face it, there's so many fantasy authors, and especially when you start throwing in the Dungeons and Dragons realm, and I mean, I even saw the other day that there are books that have been published based on video games. I mean, it's gotten ridiculous. So when you can find someone like a Terry Brooks, who is still writing, by the way, and the Shannara series will actually be airing come, I believe, January of 2016 on MTV. I have seen some trailers for it, and it looks absolutely amazing. I have nothing but high hopes, and I wish Mr. Brooks nothing but the utmost success. As far as the book is concerned, I absolutely love the book. There are very few books that I do this with, but in my 5-star rating of a 1 to 5, The Sword of Shannara, I'm sorry, I just found out that that's how you properly pronounce the name. The Sword of Shannara gets a 5-star rating. If you have never read anything by Terry Brooks before, And I believe at this point now he is at right around 30 books. But if you have never read anything by him before, I highly recommend that you either start with this one or with a completely and totally unrelated series called Magic Kingdom for Sale, Stamp Sold. That's a completely different series, but it introduces you to the man. But this one right here, The Sword of Shannara, my baby, the one that got me into writing. Terry Brooks gave me advice when I first met him. I met him with this book. This was in 1993 at the Walden Books on Church Street in downtown Manhattan. This is long before the tragic day of 11th of September, which I was fortunate enough to survive. I was working down there at the time, and I took a long lunch, and I brought a stack of my books so I could get every single one of them signed, and I could buy his new one. But anyway, The Sword of Shannara, 5 stars, huge fan of his. I own everything he's ever written. I've read almost everything he's ever written because I like to read the entire series as sets. I don't like to be left hanging. So I highly recommend this, obviously. So until next time, by all means, please subscribe to my YouTube channel here, Russell Andresen. It's free. You can find me on Blogger. You can find me on Twitter at RWAAuthor1974. You can go to Facebook to Russell Andresen /author. It is a closed group, but I will admit you into the group provided that you behave. If you don't behave, you're gone. It's just that simple. There's going to be a very exciting announcement coming in the next week or so about a giveaway competition for the Queen and I will be posting about that. So I will keep you guys up to date with everything. Until then, as Terry Brooks once said to me, let magic guide your path and write on, but only he spelled it WRITE. So write on. Until next time, good night, good luck, and God bless. Thank you.